What's up again there, guys? Brian here at 3TR, and I really hope you enjoyed the first of many new intros that I've made for the channel going into 2016. I'll be sharing with you the second intro for the people's questions at the end of this video, and I'd like to welcome you to episode 200 of the people's questions. I cannot believe that in about 2 more weeks we will have been doing this channel for about 4 years, so this is pretty crazy. So I just want to clarify a couple things. Sorry that this has to be a regular episode. I do feel a little bit bad that I just wasn't able to really get anything going and do something special. I wanted to do a live stream, but for whatever reason, none of my consoles were streaming very well. I've never actually done a stream, so it's something I'll have to learn this time in 2016, so maybe in a future episode I'll probably plan that. And I just feel a little bit disappointed that I didn't do anything special this time around. I mean, I didn't have a Christmas theme setting like I did in a preview, like last year, or I wasn't able to go out and get a brand new suit like I did for episode 100. So this is just probably gonna be another one of those regular episodes. But you know, you guys are here. I hope you guys are having a wonderful Christmas. It's definitely probably going a lot better than mine because we got no heat in the house, so I have to wear this indoors, which isn't very pleasant. So jumping right into the first set of questions, because we got a lot of them for this very special episode of the People's Questions. The first 3 questions come from Market Main, and you want to know, would it be funny if Capcom added musicals to Resident Evil? I hate musicals unless they're in old school Disney movies, so no. Next question is, do I like it when the fourth wall is broken? Depends on what media it is. If it's someone like Deadpool, then that's something to be expected. There are a couple of movies that have broken the fourth wall that I thought was appropriate, but usually if it's a pretty compelling story, you don't want the movie to be self-aware of itself. So I think it just depends on the type of story they're trying to tell. Your next question is, do I care for spoilers, or does it matter on what gets spoiled to you? Depends on what it is. Certain games, if I have a bad feeling about them, I don't mind getting spoiled. Like The Last of Us, that was a game I wasn't too sure. I thought the game was a little bit too overhyped, so I actually watched all the cutscenes to kind of know what I was getting into. It did kind of give me a distaste for it a little bit because everyone was like glowing over this game, and I didn't think it was that great of a story in general, and I thought it was just a good game overall. Or what happened with Star Wars Episode 7, I actually had a friend kind of just tell me what it was, and he just, I will say this about spoilers, depending on what it is, it can either, you know, get me prepared for what I'm about to see, or it could, in many cases, cause some damage control, because had I gone into Star Wars Episode 7 completely blind, I probably would have disliked that movie a lot more. So the fact that I had a heads up of what to expect, it kind of lowered my expectations, so you know, I still ended up disliking the movie, but I didn't overall hate the film, like loathe it, as some people might think. Going to the next questions coming from TECHNO Bacon, you want to know, what is my favorite video game soundtrack? Oh, that's easy. Final Fantasy X, hands down, whether you give me the original copy or the HD copy, that has some of the most beautiful music that fits the themes of what's going on in the game I've ever heard. Next question is, if I could only bring back one canceled game, what would that be? Oh, that's a good one. There are 2 games I would like to bring. I know I'm cheating a little bit. They're both Star Wars games, and I'm really ashamed they weren't made. One was supposedly Star Wars 1313, which was going to be like the first M-rated game. That was apparently going to follow a young Boba Fett that took place in like the level of 1313 of Coruscant. That looks very, very interesting, even though we only saw a demo of that. I would have liked to even play the demo. The next game was a Darth Maul game that I heard. I even heard rumors that they were going to try to bring that back. I think a Darth Maul game would have been interesting because it would have gone more into his character, which, you know, due to my experience of reading the EU, I know so much about. So his backstory is actually quite interesting, leading up to the events of Phantom Menace, and even, I would say, even after his semi-resurrection in the Clone Wars series. So those are 2 games I would love to bring back. And next question is, what is my favorite memory on my channel from 2015? My favorite memory probably was this September when I got to film an episode of People's Questions with my brother. I don't get to see him much. I only get to see him like maybe once a year, but you know, during that time, I think that I was like the most relaxed and the happiest I had been all year. I have a pretty miserable existence living in this house, so I'm hoping I can change that in 2016. But apart from that, that was definitely the best memory I had for the channel for 2015 by far. Your next question comes from Draven G, and you want to know, do I think video game graphics have reached their peak? No, I don't think video games will reach their peak until we have games that look so realistic. They look like this. When you have video games that look so realistic, they look like they could be movies, not just graphic-wise, but just like, you look like you're watching a movie, like, it looks that realistic, which I think we're getting pretty close to. Then I think graphics have reached their peak, but we're not quite there yet. The next 3 questions come from Ace Arcadia, and you want to know, will I still be doing a TPQ live stream? If I can ever get it to work, I might do something special in the future episode, but obviously for this one I couldn't do it. Next question is, what is my favorite holiday movie? Holiday movie. Alright, well, it's obviously gotta be a Christmas movie, so if I could pick one off the top of my head, I gotta go classic with what I grew up with. I gotta go with, it's Christmas Time, Charlie Brown. I watched it every single year. This is a tradition I've had since I used to watch it with my mother growing up, so I guess that would have to be my favorite Christmas movie of all time. And then there's Home Alone, but you know, Home Alone's like awesome. And then there's also Die Hard, which some people don't think that's a Christmas movie. I think that's a Christmas movie because it takes place during Christmas time, so I guess it would be one of those 3. I guess it depends on what mood I'm in. Next set of questions come from Daniel Danielle Leon. I'm most sorry. And you want to know, what is my favorite class to play in Mass Effect? Oh, well, I'm wearing my N7 hoodie. It's definitely Soldier class. I've always felt Shepard was more suited to being a soldier. So, you know, that just seemed like the class for me. It was the simplest for me to use. Your next question is, what did I think about the Mass Effect ending and the indoctrination? Dang it, I can't say these complicated words. I know what you're talking about. In terms of the ending, I didn't like the ending at first. I thought it was complete BS. I mean, if you just go back and watch my Mass Effect 3 review, you see my reaction to that was definitely a special video. But in terms of the damn it, I don't know why I keep trying to say that. The theory itself was interesting. There's definitely a lot of evidence to support it, but I just don't think... I don't think Bio would have wanted to end their game that way. But I do think that kind of theory was a good way for the fans to want to make sense of an ending that they felt was a little bit underwhelming. So I definitely did admire the thought put into the theory, but I don't think it was official in my opinion. Next question is, what has been the best and worst game of the year for me? Best game... I guess... maybe Mortal Kombat. I had a lot of fun playing that while I was visiting my brother, so I guess that for me definitely elevated it to a whole nother level. In terms of the worst, I don't play bad games. I'm pretty picky when it comes to my games. I make sure that if I'm going to buy something or play something, it has to be good. I don't feel like playing games that are just flat out terrible. But if I could pick a game that I thought was disappointing, it would have to be The Order 1886. I had a lot of high hopes for that, and even though I thought it was a visually impressive game, and the gameplay was good, it really was just too short, and the game ended really when it was starting to get going, and I thought that a lot of the plot points were just not that great. But you know, hopefully they'll make another 1886 game. Hopefully they'll do a much better job, and you know, I would say that was the most disappointing game I played this year. The next 3 questions come from Santiago SCARPINO. You want to know, would I like it if Capcom made a new Onimusha game? You know, I actually watched a documentary on that franchise. And I actually never got a chance to play that when it came out. I wish I did. But from what I saw, I would love an Onimusha 4. I think the graphics have definitely elevated enough. I think it's been a long enough period. And yeah, I certainly would. The next question is, do I like Nightmare on Elm Street movies? I like some of them. I mean, I would say my favorite one from Nightmare on Elm Street was definitely Dream Warriors, but some of them were just kind of cash-ins. They didn't really need to be made. I mean, they got a little goofy towards the end. I mean, I guess I'd say the first two ones were probably the scariest ones. I mean, I wasn't scared by them because of Freddy's personality, but yeah, I think the first few Nightmare on Elm Street movies were definitely the best. After that, it kind of just went down here because of Freddy was no longer scary. In fact, you were kind of wanting to just know how he's gonna kill this person out. Like what crazy, you know, catchphrases he's gonna come up with. I mean, once your character comes like a cartoon character, he no longer seems to be scary to you. Next question is, what is my least favorite Final Fantasy character that isn't from 13? Man, you know that's cheating. Man, that's just cheating. But if I had to pick someone not from 13, I'd probably pick Vaughn from Final Fantasy 12. Something about him just seemed odd, and it doesn't help that for half the game I honestly thought he was a woman. I'm not joking. I mean, I just thought that was a girl with a very manly voice, and I've actually met women like that. They kind of have that manly-like voice, so I wouldn't have been surprised if he had been like a transgender character, but my friend had to clarify that was a guy. I was like, really? I thought that was a girl. It looks like a girl. So, I guess him. The next set of questions come from Corey ROLPH, and you want to know, am I planning on doing a top 10 or top 20, etc. list of my favorite video games of all time? Yes. I was actually surprised I hadn't done a video like that. I recently looked through all the top list videos I'd ever done, and surprisingly, that one was not there. I think the closest one I did to that was my top 10 favorite childhood games, but I never did a top 10 favorite video games of all time, so that is definitely something I will be getting on very, very soon once I have time for it. Going to your next question, is there any particular franchise in gaming that I wish that wait a second. Is there any particular franchise in gaming that you have never liked and want to go back but are still being made today? In terms of franchises that are still being made now, no. There are a couple of games that came out I wish I had played, and I would still like to play, like Half-Life. I've never played a Half-Life game. I would love to go back and play that. I would love to go back and play Doom 3. That is definitely the type of game I would love to play. The Onimusha series, that's a series that I wish I could go back and play that. Maybe they'll re-release it, you know, on the PlayStation 4 for the whole PlayStation 2 emulator. I would definitely test that out. But apart from that, any game I'm playing now has been a game I've always been interested in, so I can't really think of any games that have been going that I haven't liked that are still going out that I'd be interested in going back and playing back then. So yeah. Your next two questions come from, forgive me for mispronouncing this, Pakatak90. Real sorry, the name sounds a little weird to me. Question is, am I doing anything special for Christmas, or is there anything special that I am doing for Christmas? Apart from this, no. I have not celebrated Christmas in this house for like at least 10 years. We have not done Christmas here. I think the last time I even kind of had a real Christmas experience was maybe 2 years ago with my mom, and I was celebrating it at a friend's house. But since then, I hate celebrating. I mean, if I have to celebrate Christmas by myself, then it's just not worth celebrating, because I think Christmas is the one time of year that you shouldn't celebrate by yourself. I mean, I've celebrated plenty of birthdays by myself, but you know, not Christmas. Your next question is, what is my all-time favorite Metal Gear game? Oh, that's an easy one. Metal Gear Solid 3, hands down. Just go back, look through my videos, or search my video bar and look at my worst to best Metal Gear Solid game. That video will explain everything. The next set of questions come from William Lowery, and you want to know, are there any games I'm looking forward to next year? Yes. I'm not going to say what they are now, but I am working on a top 10 most anticipated games list, which I will hope to get out before New Year's, so just keep your eye out for that video. The next question is, are there any animes that I like that I think are underrated? No, not that I can think of. Any animes I watch are pretty popular. I don't really know any animes that I'm watching now that aren't well known. I mean, you know, you got Death Note, you know, you got Gundam Wing, Dragon Ball Z, probably the most popular anime of all time, Attack on Titan, in some cases you could say Yu-Gi-Oh! Yeah, I mean, those are just a couple that I can name off the top of my head that I really enjoyed that pretty popular. Your next question is, if I had access to a time machine, what period of time would I most likely to visit back in time for or for in the future? I guess if I had a time machine, okay, let's play it classically. If I had the DeLorean from Back to the Future, if I could pick a time period in the past, I'd probably want to visit maybe the 60s or the 70s. No, I take that back. I would definitely want to go visit the 80s. I would love to see Michael Jackson perform in his prime. That would, I think it'd be a dream if I got to go to Motown 25. That, just to be in the crowd when he was performing Billie Jean, that would be life-changing. If I could go to the future, I would definitely like to go to a time period where we finally have flying cars, because I saw Back to the Future 2, which happens to be my favorite installment of the franchise, and it's 2015, and we still don't have any flying cars. We got some really cheap hoverboards, and, you know, we don't have any self-drying jackets and self-lacing shoes, even though I know that Nike was working on, like, a prototype of self-lacing shoes. So, yeah. Next set of questions come from Phil the Darkness March, and you want to know, which of these three versus matchups would I like to do? Inuyasha versus Dante, Samurai Jack versus Afro Samurai, or Virgil versus Cloud? Inuyasha versus Dante is definitely a matchup I want to do. I originally had a plan to do a 2-on-2 versus matchup between Shishomaru and Inuyasha versus Dante and Virgil, but God, it's the research for that. It's the research for the Inuyasha characters that would be complicated, because I'd have to find a way to get all the video games, because I know those are gonna have some info on the characters. I would have to find a way to read all the manga, and I would have to find a time to watch all seasons of Inuyasha, which would just take too goddamn long. So that's definitely something I would like to do, but I would just need a lot of time to get that done. So, but that is a matchup I have been very interested in doing. The next question is, do I think an M-rated Darth Maul game would be awesome? Well, yeah, I talked about it earlier in this episode. Yeah, I wish they had done one. I really think there's a lot of potential if Star Wars was willing to go mature. I would absolutely be interested if they did I mean, I know Disney will never do it now that they own Star Wars. I would love to see an R-rated Star Wars movie. There is so much you can do. There is just so much crazy shit that has happened in Star Wars that it is certainly not for kids. I mean, especially Episode 3, which is why I enjoy it so much, because that's probably the most serious it ever got in the movie franchise. And trust me, a lot more terrible things have happened in the Star Wars lore that I would love to be seen on the big screen. But in terms of games, yeah, I would definitely. I mean, when you have lightsabers that can decapitate and cut people's body parts off, I mean, how can you not have any blood and guts? I mean, I know that lightsabers can solderize wounds, but there's a lot of real crazy stuff that you can do with lightsabers. And blasters in particular. Your next question is, who do I think would win in a fight between Solid Snake and Captain America? If Solid Snake can get Captain America away from his shield, I think Solid Snake could do it. I mean, I understand that Captain America is a super soldier, he has super senses, but when it comes to infiltration and stealth tactics, there's no one better than him, apart from maybe Batman. And I absolutely think Batman could definitely kick Captain America's ass, hands down. I mean, Death Battle went into depth about that, and I really like how they projected that fight. So yeah, I think if Solid Snake can get Captain America away from his shield, then definitely he could take him down. If not, then I think Solid Snake is going to have a pretty hard time. The next set of questions come from Phantom Joker X, which I believe this is your first time on the show, so welcome to episode 200. And you want to know, have I ever watched the show Supernatural? No, but my brother does. Why he watches that show, I'll never know, but it just never seemed like a show I'd ever be interested in. Next question is, what game genre do I like the least? I generally don't like sports games. I don't like games based off of other games. I mean, especially when I can be going out and playing the games for myself. I mean, trust me, if I can get a good enough group of friends together, I would love to go out and play basketball and football, and heck, if we had an ice rink, you know, hockey. But I don't have that, so, you know, I want to play those in the real world. I don't want to have to play them on a television screen, even though I like watching it too. Your next question is, do I think that there is time for a God of War 4 game to arise? I don't know why we haven't heard a God of War announcement yet. I was sure we were going to hear something at the PlayStation experience that we had here in Vegas last year, but it never came. if we're getting a new Uncharted game, it's fair to believe we're pretty close to a God of War game. I don't know why we haven't got one yet. I mean, if they can't make one with Kratos, I don't mind them rebooting it. I know that might sound sacrilegious, but there's a lot of things you can do with a God of War environment. So yeah, I really think we are going to get a God of War game. I just don't know why it's taking so long even just to announce it. And the last question comes from Dr. Hino419, and you want to know, what is my favorite Final Fantasy song? I thought about this, and not surprisingly enough, it's not in Final Fantasy X, despite the fact that it is my favorite soundtrack. It's actually 1,000 Words from Final Fantasy X-2. I could go on record and say that that song was probably the best thing that came out of this game. And I like that song so much, I own currently 8 different versions of that song in about 4 different languages. I have it in English, I have like 3 different versions of it in English. I have it in Japanese, I have it in French, and I have it in Italian. The funny thing about that song is I've never had a song that was in so many really unique languages, or at least to me, that even though I don't understand the language, I understand what's being said. And that's a very, very special song. I mean, I have like 20 different versions of Michael Jackson's Human Nature with multiple different remixes and it being sung from different people. But I've never had a song still have the same effect of me regardless of what language it was being said in. And I like that song so much that ever since I heard that song for the first time back when I was in middle school, I've made it a regular tradition of mine that every time it rains anywhere I'm at, I listen to all the versions that I have back to back to back. And that is a tradition I've held on to for many years, and it's something I'll continue to do. It's just something about that song just really gets to me. It's probably one of the most beautiful songs I've ever heard in a video game ever. And with that, those are the questions that you guys sent for episode 200. I'd like to thank all of you guys for making this episode exceptionally special. Even though I kind of failed on my part, I am going to work on it to make these episodes more exciting and much more engaging. I'll see if I can get a People's Questions live stream episode going. It just deals with a lot of the tech. So I really hope you guys had a wonderful Christmas. Thank you for joining me for this special episode, for sticking with me for 200 episodes. I'm real curious to see what type of really crazy questions that you guys have for me in episodes 201 being the first episode of 2016. So with that out of the way, I'd like to thank you guys once again. If you guys have any questions you'd like me to answer in episode 201, for next year, be sure to type them in the comments down below, but make sure you get them into me before next Wednesday, before I start filming this, even though I kind of waited until this Friday to actually film this episode because it's Christmas. So with that out of the way, thank you guys for watching. You're all entirely awesome. I hope you guys had a great time watching me for 2015, and I'll see you guys next year in 2016. Thanks for watching.